A stunning revelation beneath Kenya's soil has captured global attention. Hidden underground lies a vast reserve of coltan, the mineral that keeps smartphones, laptops, electric vehicles, and much of the digital world running. Many hail it as black gold, a resource that could transform Kenya's economy and elevate its global standing. But history warns that such riches often come with a dangerous price. This discovery could open the door to prosperity, or spark a fierce scramble among powerful nations, leaving Kenya to bear the cost. Beneath the excitement lies an unsettling question. What if this find is less a blessing than a curse? Across Africa, the promise of resource wealth has too often been followed by poisoned land, shattered promises, and communities poorer than before the mining began. The continent's history is full of examples where natural riches fueled exploitation instead of progress, enriching outsiders while leaving locals to bear the consequences. Already, major powers are watching Kenya closely, preparing to secure a piece of this lucrative prize. The patterns are familiar: foreign corporations and governments quietly moving into position, using strategies perfected over decades in conflict zones like the Democratic Republic of Congo. The challenge for Kenya will be to break this cycle before it takes hold. In early 2024, Mining Minister Salam Vura confirmed that surveys had revealed coltan in 6 counties, among them Embu, Samburu, and Turkana. These were not minor traces, but large deposits significant enough to place Kenya on the global mining map. Officials stress that economic viability studies are still underway, but the potential has already sparked international interest. Coltan, short for columbite tantalite, may appear as a dull black rock, but when refined, it produces niobium and tantalum, metals crucial to modern technology. Tantalum, in particular, is prized for its resistance to heat and corrosion and its ability to store and release electrical energy. It is essential for the small but powerful capacitors found in nearly all high-end electronics, from smartphones and laptops to medical devices and electric vehicles. As industries shift toward renewable energy and advanced technology, global demand is expected to climb sharply. The economic potential for Kenya looks impressive on paper. Currently, mining contributes less than 1% to the nation's GDP, but experts suggest this could rise to 10% with significant finds. Coltan prices have fluctuated between $48 and $70 per kilogram, creating the possibility of billions in revenue. The government's message has been optimistic, promises of jobs, investment, and a revitalized mining sector. However, many Kenyans remain cautious. They remember the oil discovery in Turkana, which once promised a bright future but ended in delays, disputes, and dashed hopes. Local communities saw little benefit as the wealth failed to trickle down. That disappointment lingers, fueling skepticism. Leaders like Embu MP Nabart Muriuki have urged residents not to sell their land to speculators, eager to cash in before mining even begins. This caution stems from a well-known phenomenon: the resource curse. In many African nations, resource wealth has led not to growth, but to slower development, greater inequality, corruption, and even conflict. A sudden influx of mineral revenue can destabilize other sectors, particularly agriculture, while concentrating power in the hands of a few. It also makes a country a target for powerful foreign actors skilled at negotiating deals that benefit them far more than the host nation. The Congo provides a sobering warning. The DRC produces about 40% of the world's coltan, yet decades of mining have brought instability and bloodshed rather than prosperity. Armed groups battle for control of mining areas, funding their operations through the trade in conflict minerals. Many miners, including children, work in perilous, hand-dug tunnels for just a few dollars a day. The ore is smuggled across borders, its origins disguised before it reaches international markets. Profits rarely stay in the country. They flow to corrupt officials, warlords, and foreign companies, while Congolese communities are left with polluted water, ruined landscapes, and crushing poverty. Kenya now stands at a crossroads. The country could learn from the Congo's tragedy, or risk repeating it. One major concern is environmental destruction. Mining often strips away forests that have stood for centuries, destroying ecosystems, wiping out wildlife habitats, and leaving behind barren land. In a biodiversity-rich country like Kenya, such damage could be catastrophic. Forests not only shelter countless species, but also act as vital water catchments that sustain millions of people. The discovery of coltan has the potential to reshape Kenya's economic future, but it also carries the risk of unleashing forces that could do irreversible harm. Whether it becomes a national blessing or yet another African curse will depend entirely on how the country manages the storm that is already beginning to gather. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, mining has not only stripped the land, but also decimated wildlife, including endangered gorillas whose forest homes are destroyed. While they are hunted for bushmeat, the damage goes far beyond habitat loss. Once the earth is torn open, the exposed rock reacts with air and water, creating acid mine drainage, a toxic flow that seeps heavy metals into rivers and streams, killing fish and contaminating drinking water. In some places, coltan ore is washed directly in rivers, turning lifelines for local communities into polluted channels unfit for cooking, farming, or even touching. The air, too, becomes dangerous. Mining operations throw up massive clouds of dust, often laced with harmful particles that can cause chronic lung disease among miners and residents alike. This isn't a distant warning. It is the lived experience of mining regions across Africa. Time and again, foreign companies arrive to take the riches, leaving locals with poisoned water, barren land, and the long-term health costs. Profits are pocketed abroad, while the environmental and human toll remains behind. For Kenya, chasing black gold could mean sacrificing its green gold, the forests, rivers, and wildlife that make up its natural heritage. The announcement of a major coltan discovery acts like a global alarm bell for the mining industry. Already, government offices and corporate boardrooms around the world are eyeing Kenya as their next target. The players converging on this opportunity fall into three main groups. The first is Western governments, particularly the United States and the European Union. For them, this is about more than money. It's about securing critical supply chains. The West is increasingly alarmed by its dependence on China for the minerals needed in renewable energy, electronics, and defense technology. In response, initiatives like the Mineral Security Partnership (MSP) have emerged, a coalition of allied nations working to secure alternative mineral sources, deliberately excluding China. For Washington and Brussels, Kenya's coltan is a strategic asset in a new era of great power rivalry. The second, and perhaps most influential, player is China itself. Backed by state financing, Chinese companies have spent 2 decades aggressively building infrastructure across Africa in exchange for access to resources. While Western nations debated, China built ports, railways, and roads, including in Kenya. In 2025, the two countries signed multiple bilateral agreements covering technology, energy, and infrastructure. Though coltan wasn't named directly, such deals open the door for future mining agreements. Yet concerns remain. Chinese firms operating in Africa have repeatedly faced accusations of poor labor practices and environmental violations. In fact, in January 2024, Kenya suspended 2 Chinese mining firms for failing to meet legal requirements, a reminder that foreign investment does not always equal fair partnership. The third group is the powerful multinational mining corporations, based in countries like Canada, Australia, and the UK. These companies operate with one primary motive: profit. London-listed Marula Mining, already active in Kenya, has openly stated its interest in battery metals often found alongside coltan. Its leadership has described a strategic rush to secure positions in such markets. While Kenya's Mining Act contains clauses meant to protect local interests, history shows these protections can be amended under pressure, reflecting a government constantly balancing between safeguarding the nation and attracting foreign capital. In counties like Embu, officials already report strong interest from foreign investors eager to enter the sector. The early signs point toward a bidding war, and in such wars, it is often the people, not the corporations, who pay the highest. Price. Yet Kenya's coltan story does not have to end in exploitation. There is a different route, one rarely taken in Africa's resource history, that can lead to both sovereignty and prosperity. Escaping the so-called resource curse begins with absolute transparency, the secretive deals that have defined mineral extraction across the continent fuel corruption and weaken public oversight. Every contract, license, and payment connected to Kenya's coltan should be made public so citizens can track who is mining, under what terms, and where the revenue is going. The second step is the strict enforcement of environmental and labor laws. Kenya already has regulations, but without funding and political will, they remain meaningless. Independent environmental impact assessments must be completed before any mining begins, with oversight carried out by state agencies rather than company-paid consultants. Labor protections must also be enforced to ensure miners receive fair wages, safe conditions, and full protection from child exploitation. Expanding Kenya's special police unit against illegal mining is a start, but oversight must cover all operations, foreign or domestic. The third, and perhaps most transformative, principle is value addition. For too long, Africa has exported raw minerals while importing finished goods at far higher prices. Raw coltan holds value, but processed tantalum is worth far more. By requiring companies to invest in local refining and processing plants, Kenya could create skilled jobs, transfer technical knowledge, and capture a much larger share of the value chain. This could mark the difference between being a simple exporter and becoming an industrialized nation. Fourth, communities in mining regions must directly benefit from the wealth beneath their feet. Laws currently propose that 20% of mining revenues go to county governments and 10% to local communities. This is a good starting point, but these funds must be transparent and invested in tangible improvements, schools, clinics, clean water systems, chosen by the communities themselves, not dictated from Nairobi. Finally, Kenya must actively learn from the tragedies of countries like the DRC. That means diversifying the economy so that coltan is not the sole pillar of national income, limiting the leverage foreign powers can exert. It means building legal and economic firewalls to prevent the kinds of predatory contracts that have bled other nations dry. Above all, it means resisting the lure of quick profits in exchange for long-term dependency. Kenya now faces a monumental choice, and the outcome will shape not only its own future, but could serve as a model for the rest of Africa. The forces moving to claim this resource are powerful, but they can be challenged by an informed and active public. This fight is not just about a mineral buried in the ground. It is about national dignity, environmental survival, and the right of the Kenyan people to control their own destiny. The more this story is known, the harder it becomes for exploitation to happen in silence. The struggle over Africa's resources has already begun. The question is, will Kenya's coltan build the nation or break it?